You're listening to the sweet sounds of the After Movie Diner. Support us at patreon.com/After Movie Diner. Or I'll punch you in the teats. Rate and review us on iTunes, Earthling. And now, here's your host, John Cross.
All right, are we really doing this?
Yeah, why not?
Are we doing this?
Yeah.
No, but are we really doing it?
As opposed to what?
As opposed to just
Not doing it?
looking the inevitable future in the face and be like, why the fuck bother?
Well, yeah, well, what's the point?
Yeah, what's the point?
Honestly, I don't know, mate. I don't know what the point is. I mean, if it's not this,
Right.
then what is it?
Well,
My point is, if it's not,
yeah,
going to the movies after a long day at work,
yeah,
taking a stroll through Manhattan,
Yeah.
having a nice old chin wag,
chinwag,
and then sitting in some like reclining seats,
yeah,
watching a reasonably entertaining movie, and then coming and having a burger afterwards, then what are we even doing? I mean, look at heroin throw-up man down the road.
right?
He'd probably kill for that life.
What, you're right.
He probably has.
He probably has. You know what? You make a valid point, Chief. And I tell you what, it's funny. For someone who looks like the Merchant of Doom, you don't half brighten my day, mate.
How do I look like the Merchant of Doom?
Well, I think it's the whole like black hood,
Bald
bald head thing. I think if you had some white face makeup and a slightly Norwegian accent, you would be
It's true. You shave
Doom
off,
Merchant
you
like.
shave off your hair. You shave off your humanity. So you look at Bill Murray,
Yeah.
his ever collapsing face,
If
and
he
his
had-
weak old blancmange face.
If he had no
If he
hair,
had no hair, that'd be it for him.
That'd be
But
it.
He's stubbornly clinging
He's
on to the
stubbornly
idea
of having
that he
hair.
is. Because the thing, like, you look at Bill Murray, you think he looks in the mirror and still sees himself
yeah.
as like from 30 years ago.
I don't think he does. I don't think that's true.
You don't think so?
I think he looks at himself in the mirror and goes, I may only have this to work with, but I'm Bill Murray.
But at least I got this to work with.
Well, at least I'm Bill Murray.
Yeah, fair enough.
Because you look like that, and you're not.
I know, and I don't
you're
have
not,
that.
And you're not Bill Murray.
No.
No.
And I'm not exactly free from blancmange comparisons myself.
But you know what? You're Jim Wallace,
I am.
and that's an okay thing to me. No, that's a marvelous.
No,
thing to me.
you know what?
That's a marvelous thing to.
It's not bad.
It's not bad.
It's not bad.
As things.
All things considered.
Yeah, you could be heroin vomit.
Yeah, I was going to say, in between, if one end of the line is Bill Murray, and the
Yeah.
other end of the line is bloke we just saw being sick from heroin,
Yeah.
I'm somewhere in the middle.
Somewhere in the middle, mate.
Somewhere in the
And you know what? That's where you belong.
Yeah.
Squarely. Somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, not too far from vomit.
But far enough, mate.
Far enough.
Far enough.
Far enough for me.
So, we have seen some bodily fluids on our way to diners.
We have.
In the history
Mostly
of,
heroin related.
in the history of the show,
Yeah.
I
What did we go and see after? Was it Christian Slater?
was it Stranded when we saw? Yeah, but that was particular heroin vomit. This was more regular, chunky, drunk vomit.
Yeah, he could have been drunk.
But it was that he. There was a
Should we
little.
order?
No, I wanted to.
No, I just meant because now I'm really hungry after I'm thinking about.
No, but
the
there was a
chunky
little.
vomit.
There was a little enclave of homeless and or travellers just kind of sat
Yeah, they had mattresses.
on blankets and things in the corner of the street. And this guy just got up, not even walked that far, just walked as far as the scaffolding.
Presumably an agreed upon acceptable distance.
Right.
You know what I mean? He
I don't
wasn't
know
just
how-
sick right there.
But they've got a line that, I mean, I don't even want to think about it. But he didn't even go,
If you're going to sleep on the New York street, and
Yeah.
clearly, like
they are.
they plan to.
But I would have at least gone the other side of the road, mate.
I'm
And
going to say
aimed,
that's probably the
And
third
aim-
worst thing they're going to see tonight.
right.
You know what I mean?
I'm not
They
by
probably
the
look
way-
over that and think, no, it's still
By the
young.
way, I'm not laughing at their predicament. I'm laughing at the sheer despair I feel at having witnessed it.
Yeah, particularly after walking out of Zombieland Double Tap, where you think, where does that end?
Right.
And where does this begin?
Right. Well, exactly, because in the movie, as someone
It's
becomes...
the end of the world, but Michael Stipe has very much lied to us about that.
Right.
He's led us up the garden path.
Oh, saying
as
that-
old Stipey.
Saying that Stipe
The
feels fine.
Stipester, yeah.
I see. I think if the world ended tomorrow, Michael Stipe wouldn't feel fine. I think he would probably feel rather miserable and think that he'd wasted the last 10 years of his cocking life.
Well, how's he done? We don't know what he's been doing.
Growing a beard, wearing wanky Buddy Holly specs, and producing movies where he can sit and can and go.
Does he? Is those the movies he produces?
I think he did that once, but I'm just claiming that's what he's.
I think
doing.
actually it was the other one that did that. The
What?
bassist
Was
who
it?
produces movies.
No,
yeah.
it was Stipe. It was definitely Stipe.
Was it the Stipe?
Yeah, because I remember like watching some EPK of some movie like a couple of years ago, and Stipe just shows up
Are
randomly.
you sure it wasn't because a lot of people showing up randomly in movie EPKs look like Michael Stipe?
No, it was definitely Michael Stipe. Hey, how are you? All right?
Good, and you?
Great, thank you.
You ready? I'm
Do
ready.
you know what you want?
Yeah, can I get the cheddar cheeseburger deluxe? Well done.
Onion or mayo?
No, thank you.
And for you?
I will have the bacon cheeseburger, please.
Deluxe?
Deluxe, yes, please.
How much is your burger, sir?
Medium, please.
Onion or mayo?
No, thank you.
For drink?
No, water is fine for both of us.
Oh, well, no. Can I get an English breakfast tea?
They don't have tea.
No tea.
It's a burger joint. Don't ask for tea.
All
That's
right,
weird.
Then I'll have water. Yeah, water's fine.
And can I
Coffee.
get?
What about coffee? Is there coffee?
You do coffee?
I'll have a
Is
coffee.
it coffee?
I'll have a coffee.
I excuse my friend.
I don't have to get
Can I make this cheese Swiss? And do you do a side of brown gravy with that? Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
You're very kind. Thank you. Oh, I'm so sorry. You're right.
Very kind. Seems a bit strong.
What?
I've never been looked down my nose at for asking for a cup of tea.
Oh, stop it. You're in a burger joint. Don't be ridiculous.
Yeah, but I'm saying don't look down your nose at me. That's what I'm saying.
I wasn't looking down on it.
Oh, no.
I was a little embarrassed you asked because it's.
Why is it embarrassing?
Because
to
it's
ask
a burger joint.
literally everywhere we go.
It's a diners are different to burger joints. This is a burger joint. It's not a diner, and you have to act appropriately.
I could ask for coffee, but I can't ask for tea.
Yeah, because coffee is like an American thing. Coffee, the problem. Look, it's that thing. They've
They're
added.
probably shit coffee.
They've added burning it since dawn
Heroin
to
vomit
dusk.
burgers and shit coffee.
No, their burgers here
we
are
can-
really good.
I know.
Really
I know
good.
that. Yeah.
And I love this place. It's just not the kind
I
of
won't
place where
ruin
you
it with
ask
my.
for tea.
I won't ruin it with my unrealistic requests.
Well, at a burger joint, I mean,
No, I get what you're saying.
you have
Can I just
soda.
say, not sarcastically, that's a nice shirt.
Thank you. It is a good show, isn't it? Soda, milkshake, or soda with ice cream in it.
Yeah.
Coffee or
Soda,
water.
milkshake, soda and milkshake, or milkshake and soda.
Yeah, that's what you have in a diner. I just went for water though. I'm trying to lay off the expenses.
Thank you. Is that why you ordered the side of brown gravy?
Brown gravy is an extra.
Did they throw that in? It's very nice, isn't it?
I think so.
It's fine if they didn't. I take it anyway.
I've never been charged for brown gravy before. I always assume it's like a condiment.
I suppose it probably is.
I mean,
in its way.
if I ask for a bowl of mayonnaise, they're not going to charge me $1.
No,
for
but they
mayonnaise.
offered you mayonnaise.
Right. And I said,
Should I have got onions for the burger? I didn't feel like onions.
no, don't have onions. You already got cheddar cheese. Don't ruin the cheddar cheese, mate.
Yeah, but cheese and onion, mate.
And that's, no,
Cheese and
but
onion.
Cheese and onions for crisps, mate. That's it.
Crisp but not burgers. That is a firm rule.
Let me ask you this.
Okay.
Have you ever, at any point,
Yeah.
desired cheese and onion in any other form but crisp form?
Philly cheesesteak?
You run rings around me logically. You're right. On a Philly cheesesteak, cheese and onions are bloody good. But outside of that, I'm not really that interested.
No, that's fair enough, mate.
Now, if you had a square of yellow, which as we've established is not real
Hot
cheese.
dogs?
Right, but the onions have to be fried.
That's true. That's true.
A fried onion is different than a raw onion.
Yeah, they're going to put raw onion on the burger, isn't it?
Some places do, mate.
That's right, they do.
They do. I know my onions.
Nice.
Thank you. Thank you. Hopefully we can skate past the whole tea malarkey and move.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I'm a bit hurt, but I'll get over
What I love is that this episode started. We've talked about We've laughed openly at the homeless. We've talked about heroin vomit.
These are the sort of things that if you and I ever amount to like literally anything,
Right.
they'll just dig up, they'll go through, they'll go, there's too much here for us to get upset about.
Yeah, there is.
Like, there's literally too much.
Yeah.
None of it's like so bad that it could be plucked down.
No.
And if you wanted to be offended by something, there would be a lot to choose from.
Right. Well,
But
I
feel like
if you
it's
want
been
to be
lost.
offended, if I've learned anything in 2019, it's that if you want to be offended by something, you could find something pretty quick. I would have to say you probably don't even have to leave your living room or turn the TV on. You could just be offended by the rug your wife bought you or whatever. You could just probably find something. You could probably find the couch was made in China.
Coffee's here, thank you very much.
Great, thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, thank you.
Yeah, you could probably find out the couch.
I mean, to be fair,
Couch was made in
I
China
think
and that bothers you. Like, you could probably find, if you're the sort of person who wants to find something in this podcast to be offended at, well, have at it, mate. Because really, what else in your life is there except a sad,
you know
pathetic...
what? I'd probably trade having people be offended by me
for a cup of tea.
For like a few more for a few more listeners.
Well, no, because if we had people offended by us, we'd have less listeners, not more listeners.
I don't think you know how it works in 2019, mate.
Do you think we should be more offensive?
Yeah. Get on the dark web.
Oh, you think we want the after movie diner to go dark, mate? Let's go dark.
We want to do that thing where.
Can I ask a question?
If you're really awful, you go on the dark web, and people are like, oh, they're so edgy.
Yeah, but
they're on the dark web. What's that? I don't know.
Nobody knows. Let me ask you a question, right?
Yeah.
Is the dark web, and I'm talking like technically.
Right. Technically. Well, I'm glad you're coming to me with this.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're not going to somebody who knows what they're talking about. If you want an answer to the question, what is the dark web? Go to a gobshite.
Yeah.
Have at it, mate.
What I'm saying is, technically speaking, right, the dark web is not any different than the regular.
I like the way technically speaking, when neither of us knows anything about it.
Look, what I'm saying is, the internet is one of the biggest technological advances of the 20th and 21st century.
As far as we know.
As far as we know.
Right, as far as we can make out.
As far as we can figure it. I'm not saying it's good or bad. That's the thing with scientific advances, mate. You can take it either way.
Absolutely.
E equals MC squared, atom bomb.
Frankenstein's monster.
Well, no, that was a big mistake.
Yeah, I suppose it was, wasn't it?
I mean, at no point...
Depends what movie.
Well, no, because at no point...
That one with Aaron Eckhart, I'm pretty sure he teams up with a bunch of sexy gargoyles and saves the world.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
I haven't seen that one.
I watched the first 10 minutes. I was going, this is so awful.
Yeah.
It's so weird. It's almost good.
It's almost good.
It's almost good. I mean,
almost
I'm not joking that he teams up with sexy gargoyles.
Sexy
gargoyles.
So he plays Frankenstein's monster.
He plays Frankenstein's monster as like a brooding, hipster. Sexy hipster. And he teams up with a bunch of sexy gargoyles.
Man, why wasn't that a franchise? I think we have the answer right there.
They gave it everything they had. If anybody tried to make sexy gargoyles a franchise, it was to make it as I, Frankenstein.
What? I mean, there's so much to unpack there. But
that's what I mean. I was almost disappointed that I had to stop watching after 10 minutes.
Are you trying to steer me away from the dark web conversation?
No, I'm sorry, I'm not at all. No,
in case people on the dark web are somehow monitoring this and
they like listen out.
They listen out
like they're radio operators in the 1930s.
And someone's like,
listening out for the dark web. Because I imagine the dark web again.
Like when I think of the dark web, I just think of a bunch of very sad, lonely people. I don't know, sharing topless pictures of Helen Mirren and complaining about things. Then I look at the real...
I think of it as an improbable way to uncover information about murder suspects in CBS procedurals.
Well, there's that as well. And there's also, like, it's become a buzzword for... If something gets leaked in the government...
Bees, mate. It's a buzzword for bees.
It's not. Bees are dying, mate. We need to save them.
You know why?
Why?
Dark web,
mate. Dark web.
They're caught in the dark web.
But if it was a dark
bees
web,
getting caught
they'd
in
be
the dark
able
web.
to see it better.
The bees are
rather than the translucent web of spiders. If it was a dark web, you'd go, oh shit, there's a web, and you would move out of the way.
At night, mate. Your nocturnal bees.
Oh, do we have a lot of nocturnal bees?
As far as I know.
Fair enough. Maybe they're the one hope for humanity.
Nocturnal bees.
Nocturnal bees. Except flowers don't really bud during the day, do they?
It's true.
They do need the sunlight.
Yeah, your rings on me logically.
Fuck. Yeah. We're doomed, mate. The whole world.
So the dark web, I'm sorry, I steered you off.
So I'm just saying, The web, complicated technological thing, right? Is it in the air? Is it in a wire? Is it from a satellite?
I do not know how the internet works.
Who knows?
I have no clue.
I'm still confused by fax machines.
How I'm not like bumping into like bits of Wikipedia in the air, floating around. I'm still not completely sure about.
I'm still confused by fax machines.
Apparently, my friend Robbo, when he called me back today, and it went to answer phone.
Yeah.
And it's my answer phone message says to send a fax, press 4. It's like, who's sending faxes in 2019? And am I supposed to have paper with my phone? Like, what's my phone going to do with the fax?
Do you have the new iPhone 11? Is that what it is?
No.
iPhone 11 now with fax.
Now with fax
we
capability.
ran out of things to add to a phone. It just prints off endless
Prints off a
CVS
little bit.
receipts.
Oh, it's coming, man.
It is.
It's coming.
iPhone's like, wait a minute, we've got
Wait a
three
minute.
lenses.
Shut them down.
Three
Stick them on the dark web so no one can ever hear that.
3 lenses, facial recognition. We've got all the apps we can sling at you. You've got thumbprints. You've got HD TV. You've
Fax.
got
You want
everything.
fax?
And then
What
he's
about
like,
fax?
we've run out of things to do. And someone somewhere in the iPhone bowels of the basement just goes, I don't know, fucking fax.
Faxes.
And he goes,
Got a bunch of fax machines
they
down here.
shoot him right to the top.
What if we glue the fax machine to the top of the island?
And then we can claim that they were made in America because all we did was get a bunch of iPhones nobody wanted and a bunch of fax machines we had lying around, glued them together.
Together, bump your uncle. 12 grand, okay? For that.
Lined up around
Brad
the
Pitt's
block.
personal fitness trainer
Yeah.
paid 12 grand for one of those.
But 24 for 2 of them, just so we could have one on each arm to keep the biceps working.
Gwyneth Paltrow's dog psychic.
Did you say Gwyneth Paltrow's dog psychic?
Yeah, it's somebody Gwyneth Paltrow pays to come round and give psychic readings from her dog.
Oh, sorry, dog psychic.
Dog psychic.
I thought you were like Gwyneth Paltrow as like a kind of very boring superhero, and she has a dog sidekick.
Well, that's probably the world she lives in. That's a glimpse into Paltrow's brain right there.
Paltrow's
The
brain.
inner Paltrow.
The inner. You need to have it. I mean, can you imagine the desperation that's in a Paltrow?
I imagine it's mostly screaming.
Right. Now, right. Do you think it's right? But do you think it's endless?
Do they like toot a little horn when a burger's ready?
Maybe. Do you think it's endless screaming, or do you think inside it's like Dougal's brain, where it's just like a bunch of rabbits and a question mark outside the word reality?
Yes, that's exactly what it is. Oh, you're right. That is exactly what it is. Because presumably it is for anybody
Right.
that becomes richer. Like if you're rich, but you're
If you're
wealth.
Paltrow rich to the point where you're just like, I'm going to make gubbins and I'm going to call it goop.
No, but here's the thing, right? No, because I think it's an important distinction. If you're rich and you've got if you've got an absurdly rich from doing something that you enjoy,
Right.
as opposed to you've accumulated wealth because of a psychopathic need for more wealth,
Right.
and it doesn't matter how much wealth you have, you must accumulate more.
Right. So
If you're
Paltrow
Paltrow-
versus Trump or whatever.
Or Murdoch, whatever.
Or Murdoch.
But if you're Paltrow and you have more money than you'll ever be able to spend,
Yeah.
ever have to do anything again,
Yeah.
then I think your brain, not
Yeah.
Paltrow specifically, but anybody like that, your brain would turn
Into
to
much.
rabbits and question marks.
Right. Rabbits, question
You
marks,
know what I mean? It would
reality.
just be like,
fiction.
remove all friction from your life.
So here's the
All
thing.
friction is gone.
Here's the
Everybody
thing.
thinks you're great.
Yeah.
No one's ever going to doubt it.
Yeah. But I bet she still wakes up occasionally in her, like, I don't know, organic nut face mask that's made out of the...
Probably having a nightmare that she's like sleeping in.
And she probably wakes up...
mass-produced sheets.
Yeah, right. She probably wakes up, I don't know, screaming because they put too much avocado in the nose dip or whatever.
Yeah, too much avocado in her night lantern.
Her night lantern, her avocado night lantern.
Avocado night lantern.
And then she goes, oh no,
To be fair-
wait, I did scoop some out and eat it. That's much better. That's probably accounting for the nightmare because nothing solid has passed my lip in 60 weeks.
Could I just say, I definitely think that we need to form a band.
Except my dog psychic.
No. We need to form a band called Gwyneth Paltrow's Dog Psychic.
Yeah.
And we need to release an album called Avocado Night Lantern.
All right, we will do that. No, we will
I
do
do
that.
like Avocado Nightland.
Me too.
By
We will
Gwyneth
do
Paltrow's dog psychic.
By Gwyneth. Matt from Moto Media. Call us at 347-669. Thank you. Oh, look at that. Right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so
Lovely,
much.
Thank you.
You're right. Have you seen the Pixel's new recording app?
Have I seen the...
The Pixel 4, the recording app that's on the new Pixel 4?
I haven't, no.
Unbelievable.
Really good? What does it do?
Real-time translation.
Yeah.
And then if you have to go back, you just say a part of that you remember, and it'll take you
Like
straight
to any language, or do they just have a set language? Or do you mean for like subtitles?
The recording app
Yeah.
does real-time transcript.
Oh, transcript, like subtitles. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
And when you need, it's great for journalists
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
or people doing podcasts or kids in school. It's crazy.
What's funny is we
Somebody
were
else-
just talking about what more could they do on phones and making jokes about it, and you just came up with something I didn't even know existed. That's wonderful. Adding to the show. So yeah, we were talking about doing an album called Avocado Night Lantern by Gwyneth Paltrow's dog psychic. Right. And I was saying, if you think it's a good idea, especially Matt from Moto Media, then call us at 347-669-0053 or text us at 347-669-0053. That's the podcast number, yeah, the exclusive podcast number.
I didn't know that.
Or write to us at hello@aftermoviediner.com. But mainly call us at 347-669-0053.
Has anybody ever called us?
No.
It seems like such a shame.
Well, I don't mention the number very often. I should mention it more.
I mean, people call Farley all the time,
Yeah, I know, but Farley's interesting, isn't he?
and his number's unexpected.
It is unexpected.
If you were just to drop the number in the middle of the podcast with no explanation,
Right.
like, or even if you said, like, of course, as you know, my number is one of my phone numbers are my favourite numbers, and you say the number, and you go,
Right.
I don't want anyone to ever call. I bet you people call you then.
Or,
Plus
if I'd
psychology,
written
mate.
over 20,000 songs, appeared on The Tonight Show, and been on a very, very popular podcast,
And made movies.
and made movies.
You've been in movies.
I have.
You've released quite a lot of songs.
A few hundred.
You ever been on TV?
I was in the audience at The Daily Show, and they shot me on the camera.
Well, there you go. So you've been on the Daily Show. That feels like you're giving Farley a run for his money.
Not really.
Not really, no.
I wasn't on The Daily Show on purpose.
No, so you weren't invited on
No,
in person.
in person. The Roots did not play my song as it cut to commercial.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
So anyway, yeah, we went to see Zombieland Double Tap.
We did. What did you reckon?
It was alright, wasn't it?
This kid
Yeah.
won soda.
I mean, for a sequel nobody asked for, 10 years after the first
Yeah,
one.
I mean, all I know about Zombieland is it's a bit of a surprise hit, right? Because it's not like Stone, Eisenberg, or Harrelson.
Stone and Eisenberg were relatively unknown. I think Stone had done Superbad,
And Easy A? At that point?
maybe. But, you know, and Harrelson was... I mean, Harrison's always been in and out of
Always like
A-list,
this.
but he's always sort of...
I mean, I'd say almost out of B-list. His biggest movie is still Natural Born Killers, right?
White Men Can't Jump?
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
That was the whole Wesley Snipes gag in this one.
Oh,
Woody Harrelson pardons Wesley Snipes because they're old mates.
right, that makes sense. And I know that when there was, so a while ago, it's been a few years ago now, Amazon did a thing when they first started competing with Netflix. And they did a thing where they had a whole, you remember this, they did a whole bunch of TV pilots. And they asked people to vote for the best one. And that's the one they would make.
Yeah.
And I think Man in the High Castle won, I think.
Right?
But Zombieland, the TV show, was one of those pilots.
Really?
Yeah, but I don't think it ever got made.
Huh. Well, so I was thinking all the way through, like, what am I going to say about this movie? I mean, if you've seen and liked Zombieland, and wanted more of the same, it very successfully, 10 years later, gives you more of the same. Really. There's no real surprises. It doesn't go out of its way to be, different.
I wonder if its problem though is that initially, that first time round, the reason why I think people liked it is it was very unfussy.
The first one?
It wasn't like the zombies weren't a big metaphor. It wasn't terminally dull. Was The Walking Dead out by that point?
Don't think so.
Right. But it seemed like just the kind of movie they didn't make anymore. Just a fun action.
Well, you know what it was, don't you? It was the scream of zombie movies.
But no, I don't think that. I know what you're saying, but it was more. It had that kind of feel to it, that like early mid 2000s.
It was a meta zombie film.
Yeah, but without being bogged down by that.
No, and without being too knowing or wanky, it was just very normal.
And you cared about the people involved.
Yeah.
And they had a little adventure.
Yeah.
And it all kind of tied together neatly. This one, to be fair, this one is exactly the movie that everybody involved in that movie would make as a sequel 10 years later. In other words, the mood is right.
Yeah.
Some of it's quite funny.
Yeah.
It bowls along pretty well. But it's not as tight and fresh and fun
Well, they do.
as the first one.
So they do a couple of things. First of all, and I to be honest, I haven't watched the first one in a long time.
I mean, either.
But my feeling was that the first one, the zombies were kind of grotesque and violent and scary. Like there was a fear factor to them. There wasn't an assumption that this group of people is always going to get away.
That's true.
Right? Plus, you had the burgeoning romance, you had the are we going to be a team, blah, 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 blah. So the three biggest problems with this sequel are, in order for there to be any kind of character arc, considering we find them living quite comfortably in the White House, all as a team, all very happy, and the only issue seems to be that Abigail Breslin, the youngest one, who's now obviously a grown-up, 19, 20 years old, whatever she is.
We saw her 18th birthday, but it was part of like a
flashback, right?
Right.
Okay, whatever. She's an adult now. She would quite like to meet some other humans. Thank you very much. It's all very nice that you guys want to stay in the house, but we
Which
want
was
to...
quite a believable...
No, totally. But what I'm saying is, so this movie had three problems. One, they're all really good at killing zombies, which immediately makes zombie films less interesting and less tense, right? So then they have to invent zombies that are really hard to kill, but...
That doesn't really pay off.
But it doesn't pay off, so they don't do anything really with it, other than, a couple of shotgun bullets to the head don't kill them in the traditional way. So if we get a whole swarm of them, we have to be more inventive. But then when they get a whole swarm of them, they're not that inventive.
No.
So that didn't work. And it didn't work to make the film more scary or tense filled because you assume that with four of them, even against the really bad, violent zombies, they would figure it out. There is some hint at the end that not all four of them are going to make it, especially, and I'm not going to spoil it, but especially considering one of them, when they leave a certain place, says to someone someone says to them, like, if you don't die, come back. And they say, all right, I won't die. And you're like, oh, well, they're obviously going to die, right? And they toy with that, but don't go through with it. So, and the plot is predicated on, well, even though everything's going all right, one day I'm just going to throw my hands up, I'm going to leave, and we're going to kind of contrive to have a whole bunch of conflict, which we're then going to spend the rest of the film trying to resolve, but not really, because no one can really be bothered to write any serious scenes, so it'll be resolved because a bunch of zombies next. So that's the biggest problem with the movie, is that they're like, And what's weird about that is that if you're going to come back 10 years later and you're going to do that, then at least have some heft to it. This was more, you saw Aerosmith play live in 1992. Now they're back on their farewell tour, and they can't really be bothered, but oh look, there's Aerosmith on the stage, which has its own...
I did sort of get the impression that Stone wasn't trying too hard.
None of them were. I mean, the only person having fun in this movie is Woody Harrelson. Woody Harrelson could play this character till the end of time, having immense fun with it. But outside of that, nobody else wants to be there. No. So, outside of that though, if you go in expecting more of the same, on the understanding that they really couldn't be bothered with a story, it's a lot of fun. Like, it's a lot of fun. It's not in any way mind-blowing, and there are no set pieces that I would single out as being particularly inventive, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's totally harmless. I could not sit here and shit on it, because what would be the point?
And even the stuff that doesn't work, I didn't really like the blonde. I didn't really like the Luke Wilson and Middleditch doppelgangers. I didn't really get the Graceland bit.
So that's about 2/3 of the film then.
Right, but I'm just saying, even the bits that don't work are like good-natured enough that it doesn't really matter that they don't work.
Right.
And what's frustrating...
And they don't hang around long enough to really become annoying.
Right, exactly. Plus, what's frustrating about it is all the best bits of the movie are the bits where something happens and the characters that we know and have been well developed get to react to that.
Yeah.
Honestly, and when it, to each other honestly, and those bits are really, really good. If you got rid of all the gummy, we've been here for X number of years, and we've discovered that there are there's lots of different types of zombies, and then they just named three. That's all you can come up with.
And they're all slightly just a bit faster than the other one.
Yeah, and we don't see the ninja ever.
Right.
The hawking one happens once on the back of a bus, but that's more of a ninja because he took him by surprise. And then Homer turns up twice, and it's not funny either when he's introduced or either of the times. So what was there was just too many bits where there wasn't the quality control that there should have been.
Well,
they should have chucked a lot of the big jokes.
Well, this was my thing.
That don't really work.
If for 10 years, all I'd been reading, or every time those cast members were interviewed, as they became much more famous after the first movie, people had asked them about Zombieland, or everyone on the internet had been like, when we get in Zombieland 2, blah, blah, blah. Like, if that had been a rolling stone gathering tons of moss, right, then I would expect this movie, because what this movie is, oh, fuck, they really want a sequel, fine, this'll do. Right? We'll add a couple of extra zombies. We'll have them break up and come back together. Whatever. But it is with the best will in the world, the Blues Brothers 2000 of Zombieland. It's not a needed sequel. Nobody was clamoring for it. The first one did its own thing in a unique and exceptional way. And the second one, and I know people aren't going to agree with Blues Brothers 2000, but if you're genuinely a Blues Brothers fan and you genuinely like the music, Blues Brothers 2000, while it is, of course, no way near the original, is passable pat because you get the original cast back together, obviously minus John. You still have all the good music, you still have a couple of set pieces, and they still wreck a bunch of police cars. And you're like, fine, I don't know what else I was expecting, but that'll be fine, right? Same with Ghostbusters too. They bring the Ghostbusters back, they have to contrive, even though after the first one, it's obvious that there are ghosts to everyone in New York, they have to contrive that 5 years later people have forgotten that there are ghosts, so the Ghostbusters are down on their luck again and have to prove themselves again. And you don't really mind because the same four guys show up, the script's still funny, there's a giant Lady Liberty marching through the streets by the end of it. Everyone's singing songs. Peter McNichol is wandering around making jokes, and you're like, this will do. It's fine. It's funny. It's everything I want on the tin. And Zombieland Double Tap.
I think Ghostbusters 2 is probably a better comparison to Blues Brothers 2000. Well, I guess it falls somewhere between the two because because the thing about Zombieland, right, was that it was actually kind of sweet, you know, about people and about and like they were all very different kinds of people,
Right.
and it wasn't like. And not like CW different, like where he's got a leather jacket, so he's a bad boy,
Right.
and he's, you know, wearing a sweater around his, you know, shoulders, so he's a jock or whatever. It's like they were all very different, and they didn't, what they bonded over like shared experience.
Right.
That was it. It wasn't. They weren't all the same personality.
Right.
So. That was kind of what was nice about it. Even though there was all this horror and it was a bit scary, there was a feeling of, well, even if the world goes to shit, like we're all in it together. Like our shared humanity will bring us through. It's quite an optimistic movie in its own way.
It's a more interesting story, and you get more interesting characters if they're dealing with a situation that is already unknown, right? So while in the first one, Ohio has like a few rules written down and writes a few more, and Tallahassee is obviously like a gun-toting truck driver, so you know he's going to know a few things. Ultimately, in the first one, nobody knows anything, and Tallahassee is like bereft because all the shit that he loved in his life, you know, from Twinkies to rock music to whatever, has all kind of gone by the wayside, and he's not happy like living in the post-apocalypse. You start the new movie with everyone like relatively happy that they're living in the new the post-apocalypse and having found a way, except Emma Stone and Abigail Breslin, who are sort of like, I kind of miss other people, and sort of just go out and with no real impetus, recklessly decide to go back out into the wasteland, knowing full well if you've been traveling, because they've been traveling for years or whatever, if you've been traveling for 10 years, you know there aren't people out there, you know, or people worth like
It might have been better to
time.
have them trying to protect something, or I don't know, but because the other problem is that with that, I guess with that thing, yeah.
Well,
No, that's a
the big problem is the movie Dawn of the Dead does both things. You have the people reacting to the new invasion and like, how do we figure this out? Then you have them finding the mall, and then you have them take over the mall, protect the mall, shut it down, and become complacent with their freedom and their wealth and their, you know, we can just sit around and do whatever we want, before like a marauding bike gang shows up and ruins it for everybody, right? This one obviously can't hit all of those beats exactly like the second half of Dawn does. So instead it has to be this sort of decision of like, well, staying put and trying to have a home is all very well, but I've got itchy feet. Only for the ending to be, you know, no, we're always home if we're together, which is sweet, but it's like, it didn't further the examination of what it would genuinely be like post-apocalypse. The first one's more interesting because everyone's dealing with the apocalypse in their own way.
There's a lack of they're forced to like push the internal logic like past breaking point. I like that they're all just named after where they're from,
Right.
because it's like we're new people now in this world,
Right.
But like unbidden, everybody they meet also refers to themselves that way, as if this is like on the post-apocalyptic grapevine. This is what we do.
Right.
And how the fuck would anybody know that Bill Murray was shot because somebody thought he was like? How would they? It's just like stuff like that. It's like,
Right.
That doesn't make any sense.
No.
And that's the first time they've ever let off fireworks at the top of that tower.
Right.
And Woody Harrelson has enough time to come across the running zombies, turn around, drive back, and then have 4 or 5 hours to prepare that plan.
Yeah, a montage of training and everything.
Yeah. There was a lot like that. It was like, fuck it. But there was too much of like, well, what are you even doing if too many of your decisions result in a fucking...
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, that's my whole point. If people have been clamoring for 10 years, if this was Evil Dead 4, Army of Darkness 2.
Is it tempting to launch another franchise?
I don't know.
Could be Sony. It could be Sony looking around
right.
at what they've got
right.
and thinking, what do we have that we could turn into something like a TV series or a franchise or a computer game or something? Zombieland was good. Why don't we give that another try?
Right. No, I mean, look, and there's got to be some truth in that. But my feeling then is, if Sony is like, you need to make us another Zombieland, and if all the cast are like, all right, fine, we'll return, because Sony's hoping for a story, right? So the story is, even though Eisenberg and Stone are now massive stars with their own, films and franchises, they're returning to this little movie that made their name kind of thing, right? And by the way, here's Abigail Breslin. You haven't seen her for 10 years, whatever, right? If that's the story that they're hanging the movie on, then the thing that I'm really disappointed about is that you wouldn't have to have written too much more to make the metaphor of the movie that while we have lost our land, meaning the US, we haven't lost our home. So we're in a situation, and again, I don't want to keep bringing it up, but we're in a situation right now which seems dire on all fronts, right?
Yes.
Whether it's in the US, whether it's in the UK,
You're
whether
right,
it's
there's
with
a movie
Europe,
to be
whether
made.
it's whatever.
There's a movie to be made, you're right. Yeah.
And there's a movie to say,
we'll get through it.
we have but the whole, like what you were just saying about the fact that they're all different, right? So even their states, right?
Yeah.
Ohio and Tallahassee and whatever, they're all different parts of the nation. They all have different interests, different politics, different whatever, right? And while they didn't super play with that the first time, there's a movie to be made. If you're going to make Zombieland 2, if you're going to get the band back together,
right,
at least have written a few songs. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you're going to get the band back together,
Yeah.
write a few songs. And the song to be written right now is, without boiling it down, you'd have to make it more complex than this. But essentially, while we're all from different parts of the country, and while we have, at the moment, lost our land to the, marauding hordes, amongst it, we can band together and find a home. And it's in there, but you just needed to push that a little harder in order to sell the whole idea of maybe the zombies are the red hats, the red caps,
not even that. I mean, it doesn't even have to be that, is it? It could be the worst of us. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be expressly this side or that side. But so the thing about what we were saying about being offended, that's a compulsion to eat each other.
Right.
For fun. There are lots of ravenous zombies out there.
There are right now
who metaphorically want to eat people alive for their own survival, essentially, right? As far as they're concerned. So there's something there.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where you're from or what you believe. There's a difference between banding together and trying to get through this and trying to eat other people to survive.
Right.
There's, you know what I mean? That's it.
Right.
There's the movie.
Right.
And you're right, it doesn't...
And it's weird that if you're going to have them start off in the White House, that doesn't cross anybody's mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That idea. But it almost feels like he started writing it and then just kind of was like, whatever.
Well, it was rewritten.
It was?
Because they had Thingamajig, Ampersand, Thingamajig, and someone else. And the Thingamajig, Ampersand, Thingamajig were the two guys that wrote the original movie.
Oh, really?
And then it was Ampersand something else. So I wonder whether they didn't bring somebody... They didn't, a lot of that stuff that... Now that I think about it, it's wait, what? All that zombie kill of the year thing. It's why are we cutting to some guy in Italy? Or, that's breaking the narrative thing too.
Well, they did that in the first movie.
Did they?
Yeah.
He specifically talked about...
Other people in other parts of the world, yeah.
Oh, okay, fair enough. I'd forgotten that. But if somebody got brought in, it was to add jokes.
Right.
And I felt like a lot of what didn't work in the movie were the jokes. Like the big, like, this is a joke, by
Right.
the way. This is the joke part.
Yeah.
As opposed to, like, the actual characters and the story and, like, the little moments were still really great.
It's funny because the more we talk about it, the more I think about it, the more it's bollocks, isn't it? Like it was fine. It rollicked along. People did what they did, and it was fine. But like, if you even scratch the surface, it's pretty bollocks. Because instead of like, I don't know, writing a couple of scenes that would have enhanced a metaphor and given some relevance. Not that that's what Zombieland was about originally, but you can't do what Zombieland was about originally because they've lived in Zombieland now for 10 years.
Right.
So it's like, you can't have them discover new shit. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, it's
especially
not,
since the zombies are different. Like, well, they look the same.
right. And so,
And they act the same.
right. And so you either have to, go, well, okay, where is Zombieland in 2019? Meaning, what has it become? Not just, oh, there are some zombies that are faster and don't die when you hit them twice. It needs to have become something, right? So there's many different ways to do that. Either 10 years from the original apocalypse, it's not just disparate bands of people doing their own thing, but rather someone has attempted to like scrape back an existence. So it's either like an escape from New York or an escape from LA, where there's a city or there's a part of America where law and order has been maintained and they've walled it off and they've started a government up and whatever. Like, there's either that, and you start to poke holes at how fragile that society is, which could be a mirror to our society, or you have to have it that the zombies, represent something, and that by not staying hidden in a building all by yourself, but rather getting out there and banding together and smelling the roses and whatnot, you can survive in a better way. But then the trouble is at the very end of the movie, they're driving away. They don't stay in Babylon with all the hippies and the whatever. They drive away, and they're back to being them again. And sure, okay, now the car is home, or wherever they are is home. But no one's learned anything or changed
that was sort of the point before.
Right.
And at some point, that's the problem, isn't it? At some point, they have to stop.
Right. So you either start and they're all in a Babylon type place or a White House type place, but there are more people and they've formed a society and they're trying to how do we put the country back together, but with with our own twist on it. So you do a formation of the nation kind of storyline, or Zombieland is still the post-apocalyptic wasteland, but now you hint at, in the script and a few jokes, the zombies actually representing the people who would threaten America and destroy it from within.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that.
And if you don't do either of those two things, you get this movie which is sort of flabby, not particularly funny.
It's sort of like trying to do the same thing the first one did without really having
any gumption or...
Well, because it's all the trimmings without, like, what made it good.
All the trimmings without the fat, mate, you were about to say.
Something like that.
Or all the fat without the meat.
I'm not sure.
It's all the fat without the meat, mate.
Yeah. But all the stuff that was, like, quite fun and spiky about the first one, but without what made the first one good.
Right.
Which was, it was a pretty simple story, well told, with likeable characters. And any movie with a simple story, well told with likeable characters, is going to be good. I don't care how many, like, clever, funny rule bits there are in it.
Yeah.
Take all that out, it would still have been a fun, great movie. But all it is just the flangy stuff they dribbled on top of it without the good movie that was originally that.
Right. And look, again, I come back to, if everyone was clamoring for a sequel for 10 years, nagging everyone in the cast about it, then them showing up to do this would have been like, oh, okay, one more lap around the field. But as far as I'm aware, like, Emma Stone wasn't being interviewed about Spider-Man and people being like, no, fuck Spider-Man, what about another Zombieland? Like, I don't remember that happening, or being asked about Birdman, or being asked about any of the other movies she's been in. And going, yeah, no, like, fuck The Favourite.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care about, like, historical dramas about weird lesbians. Come on, do another Zombieland. Like, that didn't happen. So, and Jesse Eisenberg doesn't do interviews because he's a twat. So I don't suppose anyone's asked him anything either. But I just mean, like, if it's been 10 years and the impetus behind it is not the crowds clamouring for it, but rather the cast, the writers, and the studio, then do more, be better, say something.
No, I agree.
Something.
No, I agree. I think it's a neat summation. In other words, sitting there in the cinema, it was quite fun to watch. But
It was fine. It's not going to upset anyone, but it's not going to excite anyone.
But you only have to talk about it for more than 2 minutes to realise that, well, if you're going to get these people back together, these characters, this story, in this world, there's so much there for you to play with, and you've done nothing with it except sort of do a bit of a weak retread.
Right.
Which is fine. Like, believe me, I've seen worse things at the cinema than a weak but still fun retread of a surprisingly entertaining movie from the early 2000s, late 2000s.
This lives
before the world went to shit.
This lives squarely in between Ghostbusters 2 and Blues Brothers 2000.
Like,
it's not as bad as Blues Brothers 2000, but it's worse than Ghostbusters 2.
Yeah, but just think about it this way, right? 2009 was before the world went to shit.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So there's something
well,
there.
I don't know. It depends where you draw that line.
I suppose so. Yeah.
Because the scary thing is, mate, is that we look at it that now with hindsight, we look at it with the Bush years wasn't that bad and the Obama years were
Anything
great.
else?
Yeah. No, that's a lot for us. We'll take the chat. No, you make a fair point. You make a fair point.
What was my fair point?
That we are being a little bit nostalgic. But it does feel like the world's gone to shit. But, you know.
No, it does. But what's weird is before then, most people would have drawn the line in 2001.
Yeah.
And then before that, they would have drawn the line in 1980.
Yeah.
So it's just this line seems particularly more like I'm more scared of the current administration and what they could potentially do.
It's more like I don't really see how we climb out of it. Which again is like that's a thing to talk about in Zombieland too.
Well, my thing would be,
so how do we climb out?
I hope someone's written down all the things they've undone. So day one of whoever's the next president can redo all of those things really quickly. Like, right, a bunch of executive orders, protect all the lands again that they unprotected so that we can't build on them and kill more emus or whatever the fuck he wanted to do. Reinstate abortions across the land, reinstate whatever, legalize marijuana. Like, day one, let's just get all this stuff done. And then we can go back to where we were before, where we need to look at crumbling infrastructure, education, financial reform.
Yeah, let's start with all that. Yeah.
Healthcare and all that.
I'm back to feeling terrible about everything again now.
Yeah, well, everything is terrible.
Everything is terrible, mate.
Everything
So there's a movie to be made in a world where, like, the problem is that they're all having a great time, but it's not that big a stretch to start off Zombieland 2 by saying everything is terrible. There's less food,
Right.
which we've never talked about.
Right.
There's less food. There's less gas. All the cars are broken. None of us know how to fix them. Like, we're all getting on each other's nerves because we're stuck in one place, surrounded by zombies with no food. Like,
Right.
You start off with like things are not good,
Right.
and then you move up from there.
Also,
And then they rediscover why they, what they mean to each other. You put them in a place that is a substitute for America, right? It's crumbling, it's fucked, nobody can eat, and it's surrounded by things that want to eat them. And it's all about where do we go from here? There's your fucking movie. It should have been trying to defend the thing, right? Trying to defend where they live with everything they've got, some big plan, and that goes wrong. They lose it. It all burns down. Everything's fucked, and then they have to drive something or other, being chased by a bunch of these new fast zombies or whatever, to try and get to some place where they can get to an island or something. You know what I mean?
right.
So it's like it's a siege movie followed by a chase movie, you know, followed by like maybe like a heist or something. Like they get there, but the island's overrun with zombies, and they have to figure out a way of getting the zombies off the island and getting themselves onto it.
Yeah.
So there you've got a siege movie, a chase movie, and a heist movie in one, 3 acts. And by the end of it, they've gone from being really, really shit to being really happy at a fucking desert island. That is a Zombieland 2 movie, in my opinion.
And with that, let's pay the check and go home.
Cool.
Sometimes you're the road.